Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Sam and Phil for another spoiler discussion. And this week we are, of course, talking about The Mandalorian, Chapter 23, titled The Spies, directed by Rick Famuyiwa, and, of course, the penultimate episode of Season 3. And you may be wondering, why aren't they live? Why is it so early in the morning? The correct answer is we've already seen the episode. We were very lucky, the three of us, that we saw it in Star Wars Celebration. Myself and Phil were in the Celebration stage. Sam, you're in the Twin Suns stage. We're at the Lucasfilm panel. All right, it's been a very long few days. We're all very tired, so I'm going to be a bit dozy on this stream. I'm not going to lie, and I recorded a video earlier today, which was live. And they very politely said, "Hey guys, you can watch the Mandalorian tonight." And I was like, "Buzzing." Wish it had been both episodes, but I understand why it's not. So we're going to give our spoiler-free thoughts. And the episode is out now at the time of this video going up. We're not dicks. We're not recording it to try and get clicks early. We've put this up with the episode, and we hope you like this. Obviously, we'll be back live properly next week for the finale. But as always, we want to hear from everybody at home. So please do comment below with your thoughts on The Mandalorian. As I said, we aren't live, so unfortunately we can't bring them up on this episode. We brought a few up on the streams we've done over the last couple of days. But anyone that does want to leave a proper comment, we will reply to it. And as I said, we'll be live next week for the finale. So if you enjoy this video, do check out our other Star Wars Celebration coverage. Do check out our thoughts on other Mandalorian episodes. There's a lot more coming on the way. We've got, of course, the season finale next week. We've got Ahsoka in the summer. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff happening, and we're going to be planning some stuff behind the scenes. But enough of me. Gents, how are we both doing tonight?
Very well, thank you. Recovering, but I mean, nothing that Domino's pizza can't help. So that definitely helped me last night / today. And yeah, just trying to come down from the weekend, which was so intense for all of us. But I'm happy that we can talk about this. This is my first Mandalorian episode,
Yes.
so that I'm on. So happy to be going back to the show. And yeah, looking forward to talking about this episode, which we all loved, and is definitely not bad. Not what some people are saying, because they're just thinking that because we saw it at Celebration that maybe we're just playing it up when we're actually not. So
Indeed, I'm feeling better for 16 hours of sleep and some caffeine, I'll tell you that. But yeah, no, very much looking forward to getting into this episode. As George said, we were very lucky. We saw it in the Lucasfilm showcase. We saw the first few minutes, and they went, yeah, those wristbands on your wrist there. Yeah, those are your invitation back this evening to watch the episode. And I got incredibly lucky on the way out of the screen before I had a chance to leave. There were a few special guests who were making their way out of the aisles first, which were a few cast members, which we'll get into throughout the episode. Because before, obviously, we get into it, as George said, these are our spoiler reviews. If you haven't watched the episode, please make sure you do before you watch it, because there's a lot to unpack in this episode, and if you haven't seen the episode, it will ruin it for you, because there's an awful lot. But I'm very much looking forward to getting into it, for sure.
No, same here. I mean, even talking the opening, right, going back to that panel, when they played the first 5 minutes, and I say the first 5 minutes like it was this big thing now, the moment that episode started, and I was like, oh, we go back to Ahmed Best, we're in Coruscant, we're going to get the story, and I was like, oh, well, okay, and I was like, oh my word, it's time, folks. I'm not as enthusiastic as he is. Giancarlo Esposito's returned to the Mandalorian at long last, via hologram. And I was like, here he is. Not the fact he lives. We knew he was going to be in the season. Of course, he had been. He'd been at all the press. He'd been at all the photos. Of course, he's going to be in the season. To get that great conversation of them, her plan, connecting the tissues of other episodes maybe had. The pirates, they lost it. But we knew the New Republic wouldn't help them. Wow. Mandalorians, which ones? All of them. And the fear in his eyes. What an absolute legend. I love everything Giancarlo's done. I love him as an actor. Every project he's in, he always has a presence. And I think that said a lot about a lot of actors in a lot of things. But I think when you've played as many villains as he has, and they all still feel different, and they're all very nuanced, he is someone that just understands the concept of power, and he can do it in physical performance alongside in dialect. And what then followed, I was like, oh, that was cool. We got a little chorus at the scene. That's a nice little sneak peek. Then it was like, boom. Now let's go to his end. And I'm just going to kind of ask you both, when he started walking through those laser grids with those new troopers, I just kept, because it was like one opens, one closes, one opens, one closes. I was sat there in the celebration station, and this is the morning, this is even the screen, and I was like, Thrawn, Thrawn, Thrawn. And it wasn't, but then we got the council, which was just incredible. But before we get to those guys, because we're going to have to talk about a couple of names on there, both your thoughts, go Sam first, just your thoughts on that opening. Even before knowing, because we didn't know at that point we were going to watch it that night. We were just there like, we're getting something.
Well, I was, you go through that Lucasfilm panel, and I've seen, things from the past. It's my first celebration, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm in here. What are they gonna? They're gonna talk about the new stuff, and it's quite weird to be in the middle of or towards the end of a season of a show that they're actively promoting that is going to be part of this. So I'm like, what are they going to do? So when they said that they were going to do the first few minutes, I was like, makes sense, great. Everyone was so hyped for it, and we thought that was it. So the fact that they were then like, okay, yeah, come back tonight, and you'll watch the full thing. It was kind of like, how is this even happening? Like, what is going on? Especially because it's not like it was airing the day after. It's a few days in between. So it was just so exciting. But I think to watch an episode of The Mandalorian with so many people was just a great experience on its own. Somewhat annoying at times because people can be very, very loud and you then lose things. So it was a good job those first few minutes played again, because I could actually then hear just some of the dialogue that was being exchanged more clearer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that we saw that those first few minutes twice before it actually officially came out is just kind of insane to me. But yeah, seeing Coruscant at night, I will always love that. I was really wondering what they were going to do, and then of course Elia Kane showed up, who is one of the best villains of the show, I would say, just because I really, really dislike her, but I want to see what she does next. What she did with Dr. Pershing, I really got to me at the time, so I'm glad that she was back in it. And of course, seeing Gideon again, Moff Gideon was something that we were all waiting for. And so now that he's back into the fold properly, just makes everything, just hypes up the energy even more. And it's a complete 180 to last week's episode. This, I think we can all agree, is that I don't think you would expect to go from that kind of episode to this kind of episode. But I like that they kind of threw us off maybe a little bit with that. And yeah, I mean, I got a little bit of Phantom Menace Naboo vibes when he was walking through the corridor with the laser walls and stuff. It was just kind of like, what's going on here? But it was just so kind of like, where has all this come from? Like, we just suddenly thrust into the story once again. But he's a great villain. I absolutely, Giancarlo is just so charismatic, and you saw it just in the way he talks about Star Wars and his character. And for such, someone who was shorter than I imagined, I've not really seen many pictures or videos of him, so I didn't expect him to be to not be as tall. But he does have such a presence, and you don't lose that regardless of stature. So, it was just so good to see him again, and we've walked through the doors, and then even more information comes out, which I'll wait my turn until after, because it's a lot that goes on.
Yeah, indeed. Being in that celebration opening panel, not the episode stuff, just being in the Lucasfilm showcase, obviously, when the original lotteries dropped, I got us registered for as many as I could for George, Dave, Ron, and myself to make sure we got what we could. And the big one to come out, that was the Lucasfilm Showcase celebration stage at Kraken. All the ones you want, that's the big one. So as soon as we had that, we knew we were in for a treat. When you sat down there, obviously the energy in the room's buzzing because it's the first panel of the first day. Everyone's awake, everyone's hyped. It's got that special energy. I mean, the three of us were there for the entire 4 days, and obviously by the time you got to the Monday, there was a lot of energy lacking from those panels because everyone was tired. Not not taking away from anyone. They still tried. They still gave us the best they could. But on that first day, everyone's fresh. And when you're sat there, and obviously we had more than just this. And there's a wonderful video that George did earlier, which you can go back and watch on Cinema Savvy, which covers the entirety of Celebration. So he goes over that panel along with everything else at the event. He obviously takes you through each day and what was on, but this was the bigger one, the big energy. So when they went, here you go, of course, we have Jon Favreau come out, we have Dave Filoni come out, here is Mando. Yeah, here's your first five minutes of it, of course, a cut away for everyone at home, which I do think is a shame in some regards, but at the same time, I love the fact they do keep some for people who are there. Yeah, we get into it, and we get into the opening, and of course, yeah, as Sam says, you go cut to Coruscant at night, which is always a good thing to see. And as George said, you go, oh, are we getting Ahmed Best back? Are we getting a continuation for 66? No. Okay. And of course, Moff Gideon pops up in the hologram. And I was thinking, okay, I expect the hologram. I don't think he'll show up in this episode, but it's a great tease for what's to come. I didn't then expect to see that they were orchestrating the attack on Navarro. I thought that was really cool. That was something I didn't see coming. And then the Shadow Council. And Sam 100% agree, very much Naboo vibes with those one-off, one-on doors. When I was sat there going, I want to know more about those new troopers, they look really cool, but also, where the hell is he? What's going on? And then the doors open up, and then you get the Shadow Council, and bloody hell did it floor me. And of course, this is all before it cuts going, here you go, here's the title of the episode, here we are done. We'll get into the Shadow Council properly in a second, but I was starting going, okay, fantastic. This is 5 minutes. We've seen something no one else is going to say, this is cool. I can't wait to see the episode. Then you go, yeah, those wristbands. Yeah, here's your invitation to come back tonight. It's like, oh, okay. Because then, as Sam was saying, you only got whatever wristband you had, whatever stage you're at, that's the one you had for the screening. So, of course, we then had it for Celebration. So you're sat there later on that night. They're watching the episode and agreed. Compared to the actual, I think it's a different energy because when you're in the showcase panel, it was hype. It was, this is what we're here to see. When you were there for the Mandalorian episode, everyone's kind of there to watch the episode. So it's a slightly different energy from, woo, we're here. This is a cool. We get a screening. We're just going to sit and enjoy it for what it is. So it was a little bit. So yeah, you could hear more. You could see the energy was different in a more. I want to say it was more relaxed, but it was more just of a general buzz of we're here to watch the episodes together. And as Filoni and Favreau were saying, you don't often get to watch an episode with this many people. You might watch it, and George and I, watch it with our respective dads. We sit down and watch the episodes weekly. We had that conversation. You talk with friends, but you're not sat there and like in a huge cinema environment watching each episode each week. So to get this, it's something I'll never forget. And yeah, the Shadow Council. Do we want to go into just A, how cool it was, but B, the individual characters were there, the names that were brought up, and the impact this has got going forward?
Yeah, we will. I'll talk about. I'm glad you brought the experience actually, because I was actually really worried when they you're gonna watch it tonight. I was like, great. In the Shadow Council scene, the first screening, I missed a word or two of dialogue when people were screeching. And I said to Dave before when we were sat in there ready, we started queuing at 4:00. No, 4:00 they were letting people in for it to. No, was it 5:00? The doors opened for it to.
5 doors open. The screening was 6.
Yeah. So after the main panel, me and Dave went our separate ways, and I can't remember if I saw you on the Friday, Sam. I must have saw you on the Friday.
No, I didn't see anyone. No, I didn't see anyone.
Did you come for drinks?
I went for drinks. I think
he was also for drinks in the evening.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry,
because we were we can't talk about the episode. We can't talk about the episode in public.
Yeah, and I was slightly worried when we did. So I think I got to me and Dave we'll meet here at 4. We'll reconvene at the top of the stairs by the celebration stage, and I was so tired from it's the first day. You've done a big panel. I was live tweeting it, doing photos as well, and the show floor was so busy. It was so busy, and I text Dave at 3:30. I'm just lying here, wiped out, and it was me on top of the stairs, and the biggest crime of all is I bought an energy drink. That's not the crime. The crime is it was £4 for a can. And
Oh god, yeah. No,
when I
I
came
didn't buy a
back,
single one because of that price. Like, no, I will survive
yeah,
without my caffeine.
that was me needing it. That was like, this is it now. Like, pull the plug, let's go. And when I came back, they just started queuing it in. I was like, luckily I came back when I did, and me and Dave were right at the front. And I think the Andor panel was just finishing as well, so they obviously had to get the timings right. And I turned to Dave and I was like, I really hope people are respectful during the screen. And like, I appreciate you're not gonna have, I appreciate you're in a crowd. I appreciate a Star Celebration, but I can't have everyone screaming every single time something happens. And I was slightly worried because they'd done it in the celebration stage earlier. But alas, my fears were okay. Everyone was good throughout. I know that Kenobi last year, I know people that said the same thing. They were worried that some people would be shouting, and they didn't shout during the episodes, which is a really good thing. It's an important thing because I would say there was a lot of empty seats in that celebration stage. There were a lot of empty seats, and it was all in the reserved area. It all makes sense now that a lot of the reserved seats, the people that missed it, had all been doing press. So basically, when the episode started, a few hundred people just ran over to get seats in the middle, which were taped off before. But yeah, I mean, let's talk Shadow Council, because this, you mentioned, is important. This is like, they specifically chose this scene to be at Celebration before the main screen because this is the meeting that changes everything as far as I'm concerned. We know there's a plan. We know there's a throne out there. We know that there is an empire hiding in the shadows. But we don't know anything at this point in time outside of Moff Gideon and his group, and knowing Ahsoka's looking for Thrawn. In canon, in context, that's where we are. And obviously, we sent over the Ahsoka trailer, where you can put some pieces together. We sent Thrawn in there. I loved this scene because it felt. I mean, there were so many names. I'm just going to start with the obvious. The moment I heard that soft upper class British accent, I was like, that's not Domhnall Gleeson. But they said Hux, and I know I haven't read the books, but I think everyone knew that Hux' dad was in the First Order, and Hux kills him to take command of his forces at some point, in the gap between 6 and 7. And Phil, you'll correct me on this, I believe in the book they always wrote the description of Hux' dad as literally Brendan Gleeson. To keep it in the family, which is cool. I know we're never going to get Brendan Gleeson in Star Wars, plus it wouldn't work for the timings and the ages. But the other Gleeson brother has made his Star Wars debut with the perfect accent, to the point that people might have even think General Hux is dubbing him. People might even think it is Hux and he's been recast. I absolutely loved this moment that the Starkiller base is Project Necromancer. There is stuff happening behind the scenes. Someone's got an obsession with clones.
Project
But
Necromancer
this
isn't
just...
Starkiller Base.
Is it not?
Project Necromancer is the Emperor.
Oh,
Necromancer,
we're still tied in.
Yeah, but think about it. Like, Necromancer is bringing people back from the dead.
Interesting. Well, it's still... Well, they mentioned cloning, which, we know has been a big thing of this show and Bad Batch, of course. We won't dive into Bad Batch too much. But just this whole idea of, like, just these high-ups within the Empire just having these, like, catch-up meetings. Like, it's like a Zoom call, isn't it? It's like, how's the budget looking, guys? Yeah, it's going great. Hey, you're getting too loud. We can't have them chasing you here. They might find out. I loved this idea that, we've always been told that the remnants of the Empire went into the Outer Rim and hid. I've always liked to have seen where they were hiding and what they've been doing, and we're starting to get ideas on that. And what I loved with this, more than anything, I know it's maybe jumping to the end of the conversation, is when Moff Gideon just furiously just staring at a lot of them, and it's just like, I need one squad of interceptors, because obviously Mando had already took out his. It's like, I need some bombers, and I need 3 Praetorian guards. And I was just sat there, bring on the Last Jedi reference, bring on the Praetorian guards, one of the coolest designs in Star Wars. But obviously at this point in time, I'm sat there thinking, are these different Praetorian guards potentially? We'll find out in 40 minutes. But that whole idea, and also the obvious one, like Moff Gideon, like, where is Thrawn? Like, if he's not going to show his face, I'm going to be in charge. And I was like, whoa, okay, someone's fate is being set up. We got one more week to get that prediction right. But yeah, both Sam, your thoughts on the Shadow Council, the whole thing. I feel like there's another actor in there I missed that had a presence or has at least a name known to others, but I just can't get over that. But there's a moment there's a Praetorian Guards, I was completely.
Yeah, in the preview that we had before the episode was shown, the loudest screams came from when Thrawn's name was mentioned, which then blocked out the name Hux' name. So I feel like people missed it, even though I saw him and I was like, that looks like Hux. And then also the Praetorian Guards, when they were mentioned, there was another massive scream when that happened. With Hux, I genuinely thought, oh, it's Donald Gleason with like, some with a fake beard or something. But in my mind, I'd heard about his father. I don't know anything, but I knew about his father, so I was like, right, that makes sense. Project Necromancer, that makes sense. There's clear links here, and I know that we've had sort of strings attached with these shows anyway, but now it feels like it is now about to become a bit more prominent, and especially with the news about the film that's going to bring everything together. It feels like now these seeds have already been sown, but now they're starting to grow a bit now, and really start to link together, which is fantastic. But yeah, the hype surrounding this is insane, and I know what you were saying, George, about your screening. People were kind of good in your celebration stage. I will say, and I'll get to a specific point later. But there was, towards the end of the episode, there was a lot of screaming and shouting, and it kind of got to the point where I was like, right, you need to shut up now because it's really annoying and taken away from this experience. I will get to that later, but no, I think it's just great to see kind of these Imperial remnants come together, because we've heard about this, and we've known from as far back as as the Force Awakens that the First Order came from these people. We want to know how that was possible and actually see kind of this change happen in front of us, because we want to know the scale. We want to see how many actually survived and what they actually did to come together, to actually create such a force that then ends up upturning the New Republic almost. So yeah, I mean the whole thing was fantastic, and I know what you mean. There was another person there, and I don't really know them either, so I don't know if Phil knows. But yeah, I just think it was a great way to set up the episode, and I think when it went on to the episode, to the Mandalorian and title card, it was just like massive round of applause, amazing. We can't wait for the rest of this episode.
Yeah, I'm assuming the character you're talking about would be Captain Pelion, who is...
That's the one.
Yeah. So he is Thrawn's underling in Timothy Zahn's original Heir to the Empire trilogy. Not going to say too much on that. I don't know a huge about it myself because I haven't read the books in a very long time, so I can't recall too much, so I'm not going to say too much. But he is a character that is very well known for those reasons. Of course, yeah, bringing Brendel Hux in is a fantastic piece. So if you ever read the Aftermath trilogy, which is set just after Return of the Jedi, it covers the Battle of Jakku. So after that, so you know what happens between the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire. It's their kind of big final defeat after Endor. Brendel Hux is the initiator behind the First Order Trooper Initiative, which is the whole we kidnap kids from birth and turn them into stormtroopers, which is where you get FN2187 or FN2199 when it comes to Finn and his squad, and then you get to yeah, exactly, Aftermath, fantastic series of books.
There we go. Got it.
Yep, so you'll learn about Brendel Hux in that. Also, you'll meet Grand Admiral Sloane, who's a character I really hope pops up in Ahsoka. But yeah, so there's a bunch of things coming out from the books and from the expanded universe really coming into it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, to have it all coming together, to have Brendel Hux come in this early, because it's key, because he does set up the First Order Trooper Initiative, which ties into everything. Project Necromancer, which of course ties into the cloning and bringing the Emperor back from the dead. You have Thrawn's name being dropped. You also have Gideon, who goes, "Okay, well." When I can't remember the name of the woman who turns around and goes, "Yeah, you have asked for, reinforcements on your TIE Interceptor squad. You've asked for reinforcements um, with Praetorian Guardians and TIE bombers, and I will have it because we need to take out these Mandalorians because they are becoming a problem. Yeah, if Thrawn's not going to be here, then I'm going to take his place, and we're going to actually crack on with this. Long live the Empire!" And it's a proper just okay. People think the Empire's been quashed, and it of course ties into reality where fascism versus neo-fascism, what happened in the fall of World War II, and what happens in later iterations of life, and also where we are in modern day. It's art imitating life, and I love that aspect of it. But yeah, this was a scene where if they had just left us with this, I would have been sated. I would have like, this is epic. I can't wait for the episode. The fact we then got the rest is just gravy, and I can't wait to talk about it. But yes, then we got the title card, then we got Spies, and to go back to Katie Manning's appearance, so right at the beginning of the episode, just a nod actually, I thought she has been fantastic throughout the series so far, and to see her little plotline now pay off, love it in such a simple way. All it was one report, but it brought her entire storyline together in a nice, neat little bow. Loved it.
Yeah, and this is what I like with this series, that there's still a plan. That Gideon's got a plan. You know, some people are saying, "Oh, we didn't get to see why he left. We didn't get to see. Oh, they should be sharing this." But I like the idea that like the New Republic are hiding that he's left. Something else has happened, and it's going to be interesting seeing the fallout from that down the line when they left Beskar in that ship to get him out. And Carlo, you both said the Thrawn stuff. I mean, we know Thrawn's not mentioned again in this episode, so we can have the first mini chat. What do you think Thrawn is up to? I mean, listen, I think he's going to pop up in the finale. I've said this to everyone. I think Thrawn's going to come right at the end, right at the final shot. We're going to get something of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I think it'll either be something to do with Moff Gideon failing again, and Thrawn finally having enough and getting rid of him. But now we've seen on an episode, sort of Gideon publicly challenged for Thrawn's position. I'm saying Thrawn is planning something. Like, he's working on something. We don't know what that is, but he is present. He's with the Empire, and he is there. And I love the fact it's shrouded in secrecy that, and not to bring Bad Batch into it again, because I know what's in it, Sam, but like, it's in season 2, and they're like, "Where's the Emperor? Where are all these meetings?" But the Emperor's not showed his bloody face for a while. And then he just turns up at the next one. They're like, that's how I feel with Thrawn, that we're going to get him. I think we're getting him in this season. We're getting him in this 100%. And I just love the idea that there's something bigger in play. This is the Mandalorian. This is their story of going back to their home on Mandalore. But there is something else happening in this galaxy that nobody has the faintest idea about. And I guess now with the confirmation that Dave Filoni is going to be doing the film to accumulate the Mandalorian universe, I've said this for so long to people. Give me 5 seasons and a film to end it on. And that film is going to tie in Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, I guess Skeleton Crew, because we know there's some characters in that as well. But it's just one of those where, to me, the message isn't just Thrawn's planning stuff. Like, these guys running this have a plan. And I don't want to get into a sequel trilogy thing, but like the most obvious thing known to mankind is it was done on a film-by-film basis. And at the time of them doing it, there was that contextual justification of, hey, we're doing it like George Lucas did it in the 77, 1883. And I remember people like, that's fair enough. We don't want it to be like Marvel. And then at the outcome, whether you like or dislike it, the outcome of trilogy, not outcome of, 2 of them, or you liked one of them. The outcome of a trilogy is that it hasn't had the desired effect a trilogy would normally have upon an audience. And I like the fact, and I've said this to everyone for so long, they will know this is the mistake, and they will never publicly admit it. Not that they need to, but a multi-billion business conglomerate is not going to sit there and say, yeah, it didn't work out on the last one, so we're going to do something again. They know they need to plan stuff, which is why, at the panel, they said, here's the new eras, not episodes. Here's the new era. We're planning this. I'm not going to get into a High Republic chat, Phil. Don't rub your hands too much.
No, but when you do, I will damn well be waiting. I know. Happily join.
He'll be waiting for your call.
Oh, yeah, damn well I will.
and they spent years planning that before the first ever book was published because they planned it. And listen, I'm not sitting here to talk about the future. We don't know what the future's going to bring. If the 3 sequel films end up being a benchmark to the concept that they learned from this, and they don't not make a miss again, because it's going to be impossible for a company not to not ever have a miss. But the idea of planning before shooting, and having a story mapped out. I don't need Marvel where it is like, here's 8 films and 8 cameos and 8 story threads to tie into one. I can deal with, hey, watch Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian's in it. I guess that's a bad idea because it's compulsory. Whereas Skeleton Crew, I think, isn't going to be compulsory, but it's set in the same time frame. I wouldn't mind that, and I'm so excited for it. Not a film to end it all, but take my money right now. They are going to title the film "Heir to the Empire." It will be about Thrawn. Now, whether he might die in Ahsoka, or this might have been for nothing, but I have a feeling this is where it's heading. That there is going to be an approach to him on screen to end this Mandalorian universe storytelling saga. It will star Ahsoka. It will star Luke Skywalker. It will star Boba. It will star Mandalorians. Maybe it'll be based on Mandalore. I don't know. But whatever they're cooking, I am fully in and excited for it. And this scene today, to me, is the first time we have now got the evidence of they are planning it now. They are working on it. They are consciously working on it. We can see where they're going to go, the story, and I am fully down.
Yeah, I think what's great with this is that we've been enjoying the Mandalorian as it is. It doesn't necessarily need to. As nice as it has been to have uh, you know, different characters in different shows. It's not felt necessary to then oh, we have to watch that show, we have to watch this. I think much like the sequel trilogy, if you like those films based as they are, but you also like these shows based on what we're being given, it's an added extra that they tie together, and that it's going to help maybe recontextualize some things. And that for people like myself who maybe are not massive fans of the sequel trilogy, something like this where there's actually more background and just more information might actually help make those films a better watch for me. Will it help everything? No, but I mean, I think there's so many positive things come out of this, and I think having learning about these films and learning about kind of the new kind of timeline really helps me feel better about, oh, they really are not only planning, but they're also looking at different areas. I think they've realized that this time period is rich with story to tell, and luckily they've already set up for it with the Mandalorian already, so they can actually go and do stuff with it. But we are also branching out, so it's going to be interesting to see if what happens here also maybe ripples into what becomes of the films following the sequel trilogy as well, like what strands are going to carry through. So I think we're at a really great time, which I'm not sure I could say, 4 years ago. I think there was so much stuff in the air, and since then there's been cancelled film projects and, or at least put on hold for many things. But it does feel like we're kind of entering a new era, and I think anyone who was worried about Star Wars' film future can now kind of not rest completely, but can sigh a little bit of relief. They know it's happening. Star Wars, for me, first and foremost, is films. And the fact that this story is going to continue as a TV show and will culminate in a film is also kind of like just a nice cherry on top, because I think everyone would want to, well, at least I'm pretty sure everyone here would want to watch every Mandalorian episode on a big cinema screen and actually see things like that. I would love to one day. But yeah, I think these first few minutes of the episode, I know we've talked about it for a while, I think was so good that it just makes you go, how the hell can they top it with the rest of this episode?
Yeah, I'm not gonna wax lyrical too much because we have gone on already, but I agree with every point you've both made, and a little bit extra in terms of Sam actually bringing it up. When we had Daisy Ridley come out for when they talked about the new Jedi Order, I think you could see on her face how nervous she was because of what's happened since the Rise of Skywalker. That her reaction, same as when Hayden came out for the 40th anniversary panel when you were there, George, for Celebration. Of course, they went, okay, Disney can relax.
I wasn't there, but I
No,
watched
but
it.
you know, sorry, yes, yeah, you know what I mean. It's that same reaction of, it's okay. The fans, the true fans, as it were. I mean, you can still be a true fan, not like, you know what I mean. The fans are here. Everyone's enjoying it. We're here for it. Grand. Because I've seen a few reports there, a few people who obviously are not as enthusiastic. I'll put it that politely. And I've laughed at it because it's just all preposterous. And yes, I am, yeah, it's stereotypical for me. I am stupidly excited about the High Republic side of things, but seeing Dave Filoni finally being given the kick up the arse to do the film side with Jon Favreau behind him, with Kathleen Kennedy supporting. And this is the thing, Kathleen Kennedy, a lot of people have given her a lot of grief. I've got to give her the biggest props in the world for taking on board what happened with the sequel trilogy, taking the mistakes, learning from it, and continuing to give projects to those who deserve it, and to continuing to also talk about the projects that are in the pipeline but aren't coming just yet. Ryan Johnson's trilogy, she kind of said, yes, that will still be a thing. He's got a lot to do. We'll get to it when we get to it, but it's still a thing. And Taika, he's writing. He doesn't want anyone else helping. In fact, we encourage him to do his own thing. So yes, it's still happening. We don't know when it's going to be, but don't worry, both those projects will still be a thing. The only cancelled project has been, of course, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, and to be that have replaced with New Jedi Order, Mandoverse, and High Republic era. I mean, and Dawn of the Jedi, especially for all the way back at 25,000 years ago, I am here for it. But to give her, I got to give her props for listening, accepting, discussing, putting Pablo Hidalgo into the story group, putting Carrie Hart, again, who I think is a really underrated hero of the story group. Carrie Hart, I think she's done a fantastic job. Having Filoni there, bringing everyone together to create this. And going back to George was saying, yes, this will be the Heir to the Empire arc. That's what I think the Mandoverse will become to known as eventually, will be Heir to the Empire. Not Timothy Zahn's original Heir to the Empire, it'll be the canonical Heir to the Empire, and I'm all here for it. And of course, we've seen bits that people haven't when it comes to Ahsoka. I'm not going to get into that here. This isn't a spoiler discussion for what we've seen, but what we saw this episode, trust me, there are bits that are going to make sense, and we can't wait for it. But George, we've spoken quite a lot about the Shadow Council, and of the three of us here have spent quite a long time
Haven't
just
even
actually
got to the
being
title
excited.
sequence.
Can we just get onto the title sequence and get into the episode? Because I've only got an hour and I'm going to crack on with stuff. So let's just get into this episode because we can spend so long. It is so good. And I'm happy to sit here and talk with you guys about this because, yes, let's crack into this in IG-12.
I mean, to be fair, the bulk of this chat is going to be this opening scene, and it's going to
Yes.
be the closing scenes as well. So, bringing this forward, of course, we've had the title sequence. And as expected, the fleet arrives in Navarro. We knew they were coming there. Apollo Creed had some, wow, great reference that someone put on Facebook. They've called it Bullock Canyon, which is, of course, in respect to Jeremy Bullock that played Boba Fett. So that was something I didn't
seen
pick up
that.
on.
I didn't know that, and oh my god, I love it. That's amazing.
So he said it in the episode when he says, you can all basically come here, Bullock Canyon. And it's in the subtitles. They've spelled Bullock like Jeremy Bullock's name as well, which is a really great thing.
That.
So,
again, that's from only watching it this once, technically. I would have seen it twice by the time this show goes up, but yes.
It wasn't, no, it wasn't today. It was weeks ago. It's not a problem we
fair.
missed it. It's just one of those things I wanted to bring up that is a really nice, respectful thing to
That's
Jeremy
awesome,
Bullock. But aside from that, let's talk about this. So the fleet have arrived. The tribes are in. Sort of Clone Wars vibes, them saying, we don't know if these are going to get along together. It's like helmets versus non-helmets, basically. Who's going to sort of snap first? And I mean, listen, I'm all for them setting up a aggro. They've made a very conscious decision to tell us in these episodes that these are two completely different things. They don't like one another. The clans don't like each other. And as we've kind of said, the Mandalorians need to be united. They need to unite as one, and Bo-Katan has been the character to do that, and has been justified in Bo-Katan doing that. And pretty much straight away, it's, hey guys, listen, we're gonna. I mean, we'll get to IG-12 after now. Let's just switch around. Let's stick with the Mandalorians until they depart. But it's like we're all gonna have a dinner, and then we're gonna go to Mandalore and scout out. We're gonna lead our first scan to see that we can all go over here. Thanks for the land, Apollo Creed, but we won't be back. We'll be gone soon. And I love this idea that again, they're not wasting any time, and I'm not here to talk about filler because people love talking about filler. People, last week I understand a lot of people's issues of last week. I'm fully with them on a lot of it. But also after watching this episode today, it's made me easier on last week in the sense that you had an insane episode 5, you've got an insane episode 7, you need something in between. Now, the something in between didn't work for me, but again, in retrospect, it doesn't look as bad now, which is what I kind of said. The
I
next
have
2
to
weeks are
agree, and
insane.
you know my thoughts when we watched that episode together, George. Like, I actually
Yeah.
think it is a lot better now in retrospective.
But what are your thoughts on immediately the Mandalorians being like, yeah, we're going to Mandalore? Like, we've known they probably will, but again, there's no wasting time. It is, let's go.
It's a weird shift because you kind of expect that there's going to be more, interactions, more kind of, disharmony. I think when they arrive that there's going to be, there is going to be the two tribes separate. They're not going to come together, and that's going to take something to bring these people together. So the fact that we are getting to that so quickly, with the feast in particular, I love that it's very much, one up each other. Well, I'm going to go. Well, then I'm going to go, and I'm going to go. So it's very much, I mean, these are people who actively go into battle and who are very proud of it. So, of course, to go on a mission like this, and not only just any old mission, it's to, go back to their homeworld and to actually, you know, go back to it and actually, rebuild a society. I think, there's kind of nervousness at first, but as soon as one person says they're going to go, then many just fall in line. And you just know, okay, is this going to be the thing that's going to bring people together? And I think we'll definitely see throughout the rest of the episode and, in the next episode as well, that there's going to be hardships that are going to ensure that these, people do stick together.
Phil?
Yeah, 100%. It was very important though, that opening scene. It's very reminiscent of Rebels when Bo gets the dark saber for the first time. When she is unsure if she's fit to lead, when she's unsure of her position. It's a very human trait to be nervous and to be apprehensive, and she's doubling down for her because she has done it once before. She's doing it again, but this time round, people think what she's done. We're going to go into that later because it's revealed in a very powerful and moving way. But no, it's very interesting that she basically stands up and goes, right, I do appreciate Magistrate Cargo for giving us this land. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the fact that our two tribes have not come together before. I love and appreciate you both. You have your differences, but you have similarities. You're all Mandalorians, and we want to go home. We are going to retake Mandalore. And it's very interesting. Of course, Axel Wolf comes up first. He's the first one to go, yeah, I'm in. And you can see the shift between, as Sam was saying, it's the I want to go, I want to go. It's kind of that one-upmanship. But it's very important that the two to start off with that and Paz Vizsla to get the figureheads without being the figureheads of each tribe to come up. And the last but most important being the armorer, being Emily Swallow's character to come up and go, I will go with you as well. Din Djarin, obviously, we know was going to go, but he plays the middle ground. He's with Bo, but also with the Covert. He has gone to Mandalore. He has retaken the Creed. He was obvious he was going to go. And we'll get on to a lot of the reasons why it's important later on as well. But to have Emily Swallow's character go along with, and to have both Mandalorians from both sides, and also not just named characters, but unknown characters, to see that everybody is up for it. That was important as well, to see Mandalore reunite. And the fleet itself, when you see the fleet arrive, initially, of course, when it comes over Navarro, you have the protocol droid run up to Grief Karga and go, the Empire is here. It's like, no. Look at those markings, because underneath the light frigate is the giant mythosaur skull. It's like, look at those markings. That ain't the Empire. That's Mandalore, and they are welcome here. It is badass to see, and something that calls back to me because I literally watched the sequel trilogy right before I went to Celebration as I was working on Kanan, and of course, when you look at the when everybody arrives on Oh, I forgot. Oh, an Exegol. You
Exegol.
see Fang Fighters and Gauntlets. You see Mandalorians there. So what happens with them? We'll find out. You know they come through, but how? So little, so many. What happens next? We'll get to that. But again, it's all these little pieces all joining dots. So even though Rise of Skywalker may not be the most popular Star Wars film, it's still important in canon. It's still important story-wise. And yeah, this was a very important scene to see. And of course, we have skipped over IG-12 to get to them all leaving because it's IG-12 isn't that important. It's cute, it's amazing. We'll get onto it. But what was important was to see Mandalore coming together for the first time since the Purge. And it's a big deal, and we find out more about it and why it's a big deal when they go to Mandalore itself.
I mean, yeah, the IG-12 stuff, it just needs to be spoken about because it's probably one of the funniest scenes. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, and in that shared crowd, it made it easier to find it funnier. The moment, I forgot the species, the Babby Frick species, come in with this IG unit, I was like, oh no, they've actually gone and brought Taika back when you see it walking at the side. And then it's like, oh, it's remote controlled. I was like, oh my god, they're going to put Grogu in it, aren't they? And I've just got to say, sensational decision to do so. He's got his, Ripley alien queen fighting machine now. That's all I could think of. But
Mecha Grogu.
Literally, he's got a war machine to sit inside of. He's got strength. He's got a button that says yes and no. The way they wrote that scene was very funny, and I'll give it to them. That slapstick humor worked. And then just to follow up with the cut where he'd been saying it for about 20 minutes, I just thought it was hilarious and genuinely one of the funniest scenes in all of Star Wars. That is going to break the internet today when this video goes up, and I cannot wait to see what people think. And no doubt some will be like, "Oh, it's not funny, it's pathetic." Come on, there's going to be. I did sit there immediately. I turned to Dave and Elliot was with us who could have chat, and I was like, "It's like so. That's the next Hot Toys Grogu figure." They're going to be rubbing their hands at the merchandise potential. Get your what's they call the supersized pops these days, where you can have all that. And I was like, Grogu's not had much merch potential this season. Now he's going to be everywhere in this. And listen, they even put it together in practical use. When they do get to Mandalore and they're scrapping on the boat, it's Grogu that stops the fight. And at least there's some. I don't say some justification. You might sit in this weapon for a couple of seasons.
Payoff.
Yeah, it's a payoff to a joke planned earlier that you didn't think would have a payoff in that respect. But yeah, the scene was sensational. And yeah, your thoughts, Sam?
I mean, it's pretty much everything you said. It was so unexpected, so funny. It got to the point where I actually did get annoyed because he was saying yes so many times, or I was just, oh no, I can't even remember now. But it was just so good, and just humor that I think is needed, especially as we go forward. Like, you need kind of like to breathe a little bit. I mean, it was funny. I know I was sat. Most of the audience were laughing, but I know there was definitely like someone who was just like this next to me, who was just not having it at all. And there's going to be those people. That's absolutely fine, but I think you need to kind of give Grogu a little bit more to do. I don't think Grogu's really been too prominent this season compared to the previous seasons, which I think makes sense with the story that they're telling now, which focuses way more on the Mandalorians themselves and Mandalore. But it's just such an idea that I don't think anyone could have predicted was going to happen, especially like when the Mandalorian started, that this would be one of the results. But it was just so, just so good. And I think the fact that it is used in effect later in the episode also helps make sense of why it's brought in.
Yeah, I mean, it's the scene in the marketplace where you have Grogu just picking up fruit and having fun with it, and Mando keeps trying to just pay off the stall owner. He tries to grab the fruit back, he just holds it back as no, this is mine. You're going. It's like it's great, it's funny, and you forget that although Grogu is 50, 60 years old, he's still a toddler. And we all know a toddler who would completely just, if you give a toddler that, they're gone. That is exactly what they would do. But it's very important in the episode because you've just had a very intense opening, and the rest of the episode is also extremely intense. You need a little bit of lighthearted to get over the one before you get to the rest. So actually, I like it in terms of story pacing. I also like Grief Karga's reaction. It's like, yeah, no, of course, you let Grogu have this, and then he immediately knocks over his bust. He's like, maybe I've made a mistake. It's funny, it pays off, and then then we get to the rest of it. But it was important just to mention it because when it comes down to the scene on the boat, which I know George will lead us into in a second, that payoff, that division, that allowing them to get on with it, and Grogu being the one to step in is very important. So funny, but also important, and it's storytelling at its best. It's something you don't expect that also has an unexpected but good consequence.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk Mandalore. So the guys under Mandalore, and immediately the vehicle appears, and I'm like, oh, the Empire! This is their plan. They have flying kite machine boats now. And no, it was some leftover Mandalorians, and there's probably going to be some snarky people watching this. I'm like, oh, how did these guys survive for years? What I loved in this is Charles Parnell appears, and that's not a name people are probably too familiar with. You might know him as Warlock from Top Gun Maverick, one of the greatest films ever made, and one of the standout characters amongst an incredibly standout character-ish film with a lot of amazing people. He has a presence, and he's great in that with Tom Cruise. And I was like, Warlock from Top Gun's a Mandalorian? Perfect. He didn't get to do much in terms of fighting in the thing, and then I had this immediate moment. I was like, oh, the episode is called The Spies. And suddenly I was like, shit, like there's an actor here who isn't just a random extra. There's an actor here who has been in Top Gun Maverick, and what I kind of thought was going to happen. And this is the problem of when you theorize and you're thinking stuff and you're watching it. I was like, the episode is called the. Do you remember on season 2 when it was like the tragedy, and everyone was like, something bad's happening today. The Spies, I was like, something's going to happen, but alas, they weren't villains as such. They were just other Mandalorians that stayed there and survived. Quite a weird ideology, but one I understand. One that functions. We don't need to have them develop too long. But again, I like it is that we're reclaiming Mandalore, and they say, we are here under Bo-Katan. We are following Bo-Katan, and kind of in line with that scene with the boat, the Bo-Katan Gideon stuff is really important because the question since season 1 is how did Gideon get the Darksaber in the first place? It has never really been mentioned. We knew Bo-Katan was angry. We knew she wanted it back, but we'd not had the details of what led to the Empire bombing the whole planet. What led to that exact moment from where it ended in Rebels with her holding the Darksaber in the air. What happened in between the shows? And to get it from Katie Sackhoff via performance, not via flashbacks, not via talking and overlaying images. Having her talk about losing the throne, that they were defeated, every single person would die, and they were told, "Well, you sacrificed the Darksaber to us, and we'll let you and your cities live." And they still bombed them. They still went for them. And I love this idea that moment from Bo-Katan has sealed not her fate, but her story. That's why she needed the Darksaber, not Din Djarin. That's why it needed to be her that united Mandalore, and that she feels responsible for something she ultimately is responsible for. But at the end of the day, she saved lives. No lives would have been saved if they hadn't. And I like the idea that Bo-Katan knew that if I didn't sacrifice, we would all be dead. Although she's lost the planet, the people are what make the planet, right? And the conversation of the boats I thought were very interesting. And again, it was planting seeds of when they come together later on in this episode to fight and unite as one. That's what we want to see, and I'm curious what's going to happen for them to unite. But your thoughts on the Bo-Katan stuff, Sam? I apologize. I didn't actually think you've watched Rebels. I could be wrong.
I've not. I've seen bits of Rebels, so I knew who Bo-Katan was, and I've not even properly got to. I know she's in Clone Wars as well, but I've not even got to that yet, to that bit of it. But I knew the basics of who she was anyway before she first appeared in The Mandalorian. But I think the good yet also scary thing about this is that it does feel like some form of arc completion, which has certain potential ramifications and what's to come. And I think it's good that this was the time to kind of share this story. It feels like the right time because not only has she brought these two tribes, factions together, but also now meeting, Mandalorians who never left. And for me, it makes sense that there's stragglers, there's some people who would survive. Not absolutely everyone was going to die, but very, very few survived. So it's also interesting to see like how they survive, what they do, how they travel. Um, but no, I think Kate Sackhoff's performance was just excellent in that scene, and I think she really sold kind of the absolute kind of impossible situation she was in, that Bo-Katan was in. Um, and yeah, I think it makes everything just a bit more complete. We know what happened with the dark saber, how Gideon got his hands on it, her anger. So for me, it makes me feel like really, Bo-Katan really needs to kind of get Gideon back even more, especially knowing that he escaped. Um, yeah, I just think it was excellent, and it's kind of it again. It scares me because usually when a character's arc is complete, they go either in a good way or a bad way, and it makes me scared that Bo-Katan's days are numbered. But that's just based on just general kind of what usually happens with characters. Or it's like when you said about Thrawn being brought up. Usually, when a character is brought up, if they have even the remote possibility of being part of a story, they will appear. If it's a character from the past or is absolutely not in the story, then it is just a throwaway line, just as a nice nod. So these things are done on purpose. And I'm sure Bo-Katan saying this story and sharing basically the last bits that everyone needs to kind of pull the story together is going to make sense for future things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when she is sat there, and of course you have Warlock turn and go, well, we knew you didn't give up. We're here for you. She says, no, I did give up. And it's the reaction of, you can see on all of their helmets and faces that it's, wait a second, we didn't know this. Wait, what are you telling us? Why are we following you? And she has to then sit there and go, I knew this day was coming. I was going to have to sit and explain to people what I did and why I did it. Here's my, I'm not trying to justify it, I'm just trying to explain it point of view, which I love. I love the fact she's not making excuses. She's just going, I had a choice. One got us all killed. One got most of us killed. And I was betrayed when I chose the one that at least gave us a fighting chance, even though we had to disarm, and that's what allowed them to do it in the first place. So I am sorry that things went the way they did, but I did try to give us the best chance. But yes, I did give up. I did give the dark saber away, which is why it's important for me to come back here, reclaim, and for us to rebuild. But I disagree slightly, Sam, but only from the point of I don't think it's a full completion of it. I think it's the first half. That's what it felt like to me. It was a case of, yes,
Ew,
this.
she's dead. She's good,
I don't
my
think.
friend.
I don't think so. Not yet. I think she has a very important part to play. I don't get me wrong. I don't think she's super long for this world. I think by the time we get to the Mandoverse film, she will have either been dead or that's where she will die. But I do think for now it's because of the ending scene, because of what happens and where we go, I do think that she's around for a bit longer. I think it's more the first half of her arc is complete, or first two thirds. She fought in the Clone Wars. She got picked the wrong side there. She then changed over, did what she could, then had to give the Darksaber away. She's now coming back for basically her third attempt. I think if you break it down to thirds, this is her last dance. However long it takes her, however, if she dies next week or if she dies in 2 seasons, 3 seasons time in the movie or whatever, I don't think she'll survive fully. But I think this is a very important part of no matter what happens with her going forward, Mandalore is very clear as to what happened and why it happened going forward. And that's the more important part, not the character, but the story.
Yeah, and I do still think the story is going to end up with Din Djarin on the throne in Mandalore with the Darksaber, with the country united. And not to sit here and theorize, but I know we were in a spoiler discussion, we kind of can. The one I've had all season long is still Bo-Katan will betray the Mandalorian to take the Darksaber, which she hasn't. She has earned it to a point for a technicality, the older one. Or her death will be what inspires, because Din didn't want the Darksaber. He didn't care. It had nothing to him. The scene of him and her today, where his like, your song is not sung, or the other way around, sorry, that was like he is really with you now. Like, he is devoted to your idea, your ideology, and I do think next week we're going to have something insane happen. I could be completely wrong. Could be padded out into the next season, maybe. But
Yeah, I
with
mean,
how this... Oh, sorry, Sam.
no, I was just gonna say because I remember I don't know if it was you that I spoke to about it, George, but I mean it was like seeing kind of like Daenerys and Jon Snow vibes a little bit
Yes.
about kind of like
Yep.
how that goes, and that is very much Bo-Katan's link with Duchess Satine, for example, the siblings, coming from this royal house, having that legacy and having to carry that on, and that's a lot of pressure. And for a lot of people, the ideal world would be Mandalore is back, Bo-Katan is leading everyone, and that's kind of what everyone would want the end game to be. And suddenly, through this TV show, someone else who who is kind of on his own, kind of doesn't really fit in with one particular thing, who doesn't expect anything, doesn't want anything, is suddenly thrust into this and is kind of the potential light out of everything. So I think that's where kind of more my vibes come from, and I think definitely, I would be very surprised if Bo-Katan was gone by the end of next week's episode, but it definitely does feel like, compared to at the start of the season, for me, it feels like there is a countdown now, and that at one point it is going to hit 0, and that's going to be it. And I think it's going to be horrendous. But it does surprise me that it's now this episode, and especially after speaking with George as well, that's kind of made me go, oh yeah, that actually makes sense, and this is a very real possibility. But again, just knowing that she has brought these people together, that her influence, her power, and her honesty now, despite this, people are still willing to go with her. I think it just shows that we have kind of cleared a barrier, and that we are moving forwards towards actually, retaking Mandalore.
Yeah, and kind of getting into those final moments, I've got nothing to say about the monster, if I'm being honest. That just the Godzilla-esque monster that emerges from the ground to send them down to the abyss. I'm happy to skip that because I just want to get into the trap. The trap set by Moff Gideon is potentially one of my favorite moments, not in all of Star Wars, in the Mandalorian so far. So, having his new troopers, scrapping with them, great. We've got some new armor, great. We're still going to dispose of them, great. Okay, I can quickly move on past that. It's cool seeing them fighting together. I've got nothing more to say on that little very quick scene because the meat is what comes next. The moment the Mandalorians turn that corner, and this is way before we see the hangars, when they went into that tunnel and there was Empire light on the side, and I was like,
oh yeah,
has no one clocked that this isn't their design? Like, I know that they're running from soldiers. Like, has nobody noticed that this is like the Buzz Lightyear Toy Story 2 thing? I know that's obviously Star Wars, but it's like they've just jumped from atmosphere and natural habitat to engineering and architecture, and I absolutely loved the moment when the doors shut. Now, I thought they were going to be shut on, just the Mandalorian Din Djarin or just Bo-Katan or something. But the build-up to Moff Gideon's new outfit, his new suit, was fucking exceptional. And this is why you cast Giancarlo Esposito. You want a villain that loves being a villain, that has charisma, that can act the shit out of a villain performance. I don't want someone bored in a suit. I don't want someone sat saying, ugh. I want someone that's going to absolutely own the choice of costume he has, which is what he does. And I still love the fact is they all think Din's got the Darksaber, because why wouldn't they think he hasn't got it? And the whole set was never trap for Bo-Katan. The trap was for Din, no one else. And the moment when they had Din's head like on the cables, I did think, and I think Sammy might have spoke about this, I did think they're going to pull his helmet off. Like I thought they're gonna like show him to everyone. He's gonna have failed. But no, and it's just them saying, check him. He's got the saber. He's got the saber. He never did. And I just loved this moment of helplessness. And it's the first time everyone's gonna, like Bad Batch, go, oh, the Empire Strikes Back ending. I love the fact that at this point in time, we all knew that they had just fallen into a trap. Like Gideon has them beat. The interceptors going off to go to the stuff up there. By the way, the N1 wasn't on the trip with them, and that was the first warning. I was like, oh, they've not took the N1 today, have they? Someone's in trouble. And I love the fact that the fleet is above them. The TIE interceptors are going off. Moff Gideon has got Din where he needs him. Before we get to that little final moment, what are both your thoughts on the trap again, leading up to Paz's big moment?
It was like building to like a Doctor Who cliffhanger. It was so like, oh my god, every single thing now is up in the air. I will say the battle that just preempts this was really good. You kind of start seeing these people work together more. It's great. My kind of worry initially was kind of like, crap, the armor is going up, and you keep seeing these shots of the fleet, and I was fully expecting her to go through the atmosphere, and then you just see that the fleet is no longer there, that it was destroyed, and that was what it was, either that or that the armor was going to turn on Bo-Katan after finding out what she did about her agreement with Gideon and stuff. So I mean, my mind was just playing for all these different scenarios about what's going to happen, and then it was like playing Jedi Fallen Order, because suddenly you turned a corner and you were in an Imperial corridor. It was like, where did that come from? Are we in a flashback? Are we in this weird thing? What's going on? And then to have the door close, I thought, crap, only Din's on one side, everyone else on the other side. Is there going to be some weird red wedding stuff going down? Like, your mind just went everywhere, because suddenly everything went at 80, 90 miles an hour. Like, it was non-stop. And the fear that I had was crazy, and kind of the screams as well. This is when the screaming started, when this was happening. But it was all so awesome, and I think this is the thing. Like, as awful as it is, and how scared you are for these characters and for the story, it's so wonderful to be so shocked and to kind of have this experience, which was only heightened by being around all these people who were sharing that with you. But you are right about Gideon. He is just, what I love is that, to me, there's no redeeming qualities to this person. He is evil, and I think so many times nowadays is these overly developed villainous characters who've got these different sides. As much as I appreciate that, I want a villain that I can just hate and who I want to get their just desserts at the end of it. But enjoy for the ride and enjoy how venomous they are. And he is just so petty, and he is just like, I'm not only am I gonna set up this trap, but I'm gonna set up a base on Mandalore itself and use the tools that they use to defend themselves and that makes them, and use it against them. And I just think it's just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we get to this point and you're just like, oh god, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, I mean, the whole build up to that, the trap itself was so well done. And again, I was sat with you thinking, how has no one clocked this? Have they not realized that they are running into something here? This isn't. It was a whole abstract, but it's a trap moment, because by the time you get the other side, you see that the payoff from the new troopers was fantastic. You had that in the Shadow Council go, oh, this is what they're for. Oh, okay. And it's that wave after wave after wave of Imperials. And it's the Mandalorians doing what they do best, of going, okay, it'll take 10 of you to kill one of us. We're going to nuke you, but we might be in trouble. We might be back to the corner, but man, we're going to fight our way out. Everything's going to be good. And then, then they catched in. And then it's the cables. And I legitimately was scared that they were going to garrote him and take his head off. It was almost I was so lost in the moment. I was like, oh, they are just going to kill him. Or I did think, again, they're going to take his helmet off. But I was in that moment of just pure, I was so wrapped up in it. And then you have Gideon rock up. And it's like, I have created Dark Troopers 2.0 with Beskar from you lot. And come on. Don't I just look the best? He is just Proper. It is, as you say, Sam. It's a villain that you want to hate. It's a villain with proper charisma. It's proper. I play D&D a lot, and this is one of those villains you just rock and go, yeah, okay. This is a villain that's so sure of themselves. I just need to just do something about this kind of thing. And he's just rocking up and going, I have all the cards. The only thing I'm missing is the dark saber. And he goes, huh, you don't have it. Ah, Lady Kreese. Yeah, you've got it. Oh, well, not going to make too much of a difference. You know what happened last time? It's going to happen again. And I'm going to prove it. And it's just, it is harrowing. And it's properly done. And it is to the point of, he's just there going, I don't give a damn what you say. I now have all the cards. And thank you. Thank you, Lady Kreese, for bringing everybody here because it makes it so much easier for me to deal with you. And it is proper, oh shit, they have screwed up. And it is so well done. And you can see the look on his face is the cat that's got the cream. And I love it. And you can see underneath. This is what I love about Pedro Pascal's performance, about Katie Sackhoff's performance, about the actor under the helmet of Paz Vizsla. You can see emotion without seeing a face. And you can see the fear without a face. And it's so well done. It takes a lot of time, effort, and practice. Going back to Mayfeld, when of course he's taking them through the Imperial facility, and you have to have Pedro Pascal act without a helmet, and you can see the fact that he's having to basically act as though he's wearing a helmet without wearing a helmet. He doesn't know what to do with his face. So when he puts a helmet back on, even though it's Imperial, he feels more comfortable. Fast forward to where we are now, and you can see that fear. You can almost smell it coming off it. It is so palpable. And yeah, Moff Gideon just has all the cards, and he's just in his element, and I love it.
Yeah, and kind of with them escaping as well. Let's talk the Paz Vizsla because, I when the door shut and Pedro got took away, I was like, okay, she's got the dark saber. She's gonna, Phantom Menace it straight through. No, she went for the spin. She didn't just try and burn the door like Qui-Gon Jinn. But the moment in which Paz Vizsla stayed behind, I was like, oh my god, we're getting the hero moment. And I've just got to say, a character that was introduced just, he's a cool big Mandalorian in season one.
John Favreau's cameo, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Like, he's got the voice. Oh, he's come back a few more times. And it's kind of, I said, right, this season, that character's had development. He's got a son. He's chosen, last week, like, yep, I'm fully with Din Djarin. Let's go and save them. He saved me. This is the way. And I was like, oh god, I spent so long, they built up K-Sack of knock it down. I hadn't forgot about him. And just the moment of the weapon just continuing to overheat, Battlefront 2 vibes were in. I was like, an overheated gun, yes, brilliant. And he just kept killing them. When he launches the gun to kill the last two, there was a bit of clapping in our screening. And again, I don't mind that, in an auditorium, in a scene like that, a moment like that. And then the Praetorian Guard showed up. And I've just got to say, I mean, Sam, I'm going to be curious to get your thoughts, because I know you're not the biggest Last Jedi fan. But to me, who loved their designs, who loves the sequence, and I understand some are like, oh, well, they just got killed straight away. To see them, not even say to see them in action, to see them massacre this character that's been built up for a few years. He didn't get to fight them. He didn't get to give them, like a hero's fight. They violated him. Like, the way they killed him, like, slowly and painfully with the weapons, I was just sort of there, like, fucking hell. Like, I think I turned to Elliot when it finished, like, thank God I packed my Last Jedi Praetorian shirt top. I'll be wearing that tomorrow. I did for drinks on Saturday night, but not for anything else. And it was a wonderful, wonderful end to that character. Again, he went from being the big Mandalorian to, I think most people could probably know it's Paz Vizsla, to end the John Favreau voice cameo in a nice way. Because I'd imagine they probably felt a bit awkward always bringing him back. Because I know they changed the helmet audio ever so slightly, so it doesn't sound too much like him now. But just to have them off him, and Praetorian Guards, they're on the grid. Like, the Empire's not pissing about. He wanted 3 Praetorian Guards, he got 3 Praetorian Guards. Like, he only needed 2. But to dispose of a character in those circumstances we spent time with, it does make me think, like, now are these guards going to be chasing these next week? Like, I cannot wait to see what happens. It's you know, I'm going to get both your thoughts before I give my final thoughts on the episode, but I just, the Praetorian Guards. Not a million years did I ever think they'd be on the Mandalorian. Not ever did I think they would be in the Mandalorian. But oh my word, what a moment! And I cannot wait to rewatch that scene tomorrow.
Me too. Like, I exactly the same boat. I had no idea. Like, would never have thought that this would happen. Um, it's interesting because I feel like as soon as he was on his own, that's like you just go in your head, right? That's it. And there was definitely kind of audible, kind of like, oh no, and kind of we know what's coming, something's going to happen. And with that character, it was probably the best character to use in this instant because we have had time with him this season, and I think there's not been many named characters that have been recurring throughout this series that have gone. So I think this was the right time to do that, and probably the right way because he does go out in a blaze of glory. And it was like in my head when I saw the gun overheating, all I could think of was Judi Dench in The World Is Not Enough saying it's getting redder, because I was just like, oh no, at one point it's going to just not work anymore. But to see him just take out um, so many troopers as well was so good. Anyway, but to then have you're right, it was like a violation to see what happened to him because he was just absolutely destroyed, and it was so ruthless, so terrible. And this is when the screaming in Twin Sons got the word. Basically, there was a family in front of me in the third, so I was in the fourth row, the family was in the third row, and it was about, I think it was about like 5 daughters, age between like 9, 10 to kind of like mid-teens, and they were screaming, absolutely screaming, and I understood it at first, and I audibly gasped, when the Praetorian Guards came and when they were starting on him, but it was just continued, and it really took away from the scene a little bit. So I am gonna enjoy watching it just on my own today, but yeah, it was just a fantastic way to end things, and to have those lot trying to escape, have this death happen, to have the ties go up to the fleet. There's so much going on, and it's just excellent. And I said to you both that it was definitely, I wasn't sure if it was the best episode of the whole series, but especially after talking about it with you both, I do kind of think if it's up there, it's up there because I can't think of any other episode that beats it now. Now that I've spoken about it with you, I can't think of another episode of this series that beats it. And the fact that it's come from last week, which a lot of people really did not like, is just the true surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I was very verbal on my feelings on last week's episode. I'm not going to go over again here. If you want to see my thoughts, go and watch our video when George and I talked about it last week. Although I do have a feeling when I rewatch it when I'm a little bit more awake and a little bit more with the context of what's to come, I probably will enjoy it a little bit more because it's still Jack Black, it's still Christopher Lloyd, it's still Clone Wars vibes. I'll probably enjoy it more now than I did then, but that's by the by. Yeah, they curb stomped his ass, and it was just brutal to see. But it's a very typical build-up of Jedi Masters in Order 66. So you play Fallen Order, watching your master get killed is bad enough. This felt like that. It's that, oh, here we go again, but it's not a bad, here we go again. It's a, I've now got to watch this. I know what's coming. It's the, I'm going to stop. It's the, I'm sacrificing myself. Get the hell out of here. And you have him do that. It's the, look, I know what I'm doing. I've got a son. He's the priority. You go look after him. Get the hell out of here. Look after our people. I've got your back. Seems gunned down wave after wave. To have the Praetorian Guard be the ones to do it, they had to because no one else was going to be strong enough. But it felt every time that he kicked back, they just went, no, sorry, you're not good enough. And every time they basically punished him. Every time he fought back, they went, okay, we're going to take a little bit longer. And they curb stomped him. And it was so good to watch in a way of very morbid. This is just a beatdown that's just so well played out, and it's so methodical. And yeah, The Last Jedi is not everyone's favorite, but I tell you what, whether you like The Last Jedi or not, that scene with the Praetorian Guards is incredible to watch, incredibly well choreographed. My favorite part is still when Rey lobs the lightsaber and Kyle has to use it to just burn through someone's head. It's like, it's really cool. It's really well done. That took a Jedi and a Sith basically to take down 5 guards. You have 3 guards versus 1 Mandalorian. They were playing with him. They were just playing. And it was so cool to see. And the thing is, though, of course, we've had Bad Batch Season 2. They've tied up the Zilla Beast arc, and I do wonder if their armor is Zilla Beast armor. It's so well. They are just, I'm sorry, but nothing can touch us kind of thing. It is so well done, so well played. And yeah, to have the character be built up, we talk about Bo-Katan. This is a similar thing of, oh, they've built him up. Oh, they've given him more. Oh, they've given him a son. Oh, they've given, oh, no, he's not long for, and no, he wasn't. But he played his part and played it well. And like, my hat's off to them for that one. It was so well done. But yeah, that scene in our screening, well, we were sat. So I was sat literally on the front row. I sat off to the side, had to look through the crane a little bit, but it's fine. But I was sat at the front watching this happen. And the wave behind me of noise, watching it was hair the back of your neck kind of thing. It was, yeah, loved it.
We were we wanted to go for the tiered seating because it's comfier. So when me and Dave planned, I was like, we want to get to the middle of the tiered seating, like middle, and everyone's going to the entrance on the left as you come in. So we went past them because no one's going to be able to walk past the middle bit and then sit in, which is what we did. So we had perfect seats for it. And yeah, what an episode for them to show. What an episode. And kind of going for you to Sam there as well, is it the best? I genuinely believe this is the best episode of 3 seasons. And listen, someone's going to be screaming, but what about the Luke episode?
Now, I am a Luke fanboy. You know this, George. You know full well my feelings on this. And I still rank this either higher, just as high or higher. It was incredible.
This is a better episode of The Mandalorian. That may have one of the greatest moments in Star Wars. But that was, and it is a wonderful ending, that episode. It is a phenomenal episode. And I will say, here we are, 2 years later? It is slightly undone by Grogu returning. Slightly undone by Grogu. It's still a great moment. But, the music and that. And I'll say this is, to me, the first episode of the season, not in a horrible way, where Joseph Campbell's scores really, really shined. I know it's, it's not easy taking over Ludwig Göransson for something like this. I don't know, he's assisting a bit. I know he's assisting a bit with Ahsoka as well. But, yeah, this episode had everything you wanted. It's wiring all these threads together from this series, from other series. It's putting things on the, new chess pieces on the board for what's going to happen moving forward. And the main thing, I'm just incredibly hyped for next week. And Rick Famuyiwa directing it. They made him an executive producer for this season. This is the second of 3 episodes this season. He's been there since season 1. With the second episode of season 1, that's how far back he's going to Mandalorian. And what an absolute incredible way to continue his hot Mandalorian streak. And final thoughts from me. I cannot wait for next week. This was something special, and I don't even need to see the Praetorian Guards again. We probably will, but if that's what they want to show, that's great. That's good enough for me. I can't wait, and I can't wait for other people to watch it too.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to add. I think based on what this episode ends on, we know what we kind of want out of next episode, or what we could expect. I mean, what I do know is that, Paz Vizsla was, I think was a very integral part of, the group's kind of arsenal. Probably one of the best, fighters, knew exactly what to do. So, and we saw that through the earlier fight as well. So the fact that he's not going to be there is going to be dangerous. And, with people split apart in different areas, we do want to see these people come together to kind of, beat the Empire. But we'll wait and see. I'm sure there's going to be more deaths, whether they're named characters or not, I don't know at this stage. But what a fantastic episode. And just the next episode has got a lot of pressure now to kind of maintain that level or surpass it. If it surpasses this, then this could be the best 2-part finale, ever, or at least be up there. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I just want a Moff Gideon helmet now in my cabinet because that thing just looks so bad. It's very Maul Super
Got the
Commando
Maul
style.
spikes.
Yeah, it has. It's so cool. But no, this finale has been so. And I agree with you, George. Actually, this is the best Mandalorian episode. That episode with Luke is one of the best moments in Star Wars. This is the best episode of Mandalorian. I will agree with that, and I will die on that hill because I'm a Luke fanboy at heart. Mark Hamill, when I met him in 2016, was literally one of the memories that's ingrained in my memory. Will be for the rest of my life. It's Luke is an integral part of who I am and what I love about Star Wars. It's why I love the High Republic, because the Jedi to me are Star Wars. This is what the Mandalorians is supposed to be. Boba Fett initially was someone who just stood by, looked cool, didn't do much. The Book of Boba Fett arguably is one of the weakest links of the new era, but this is the reason why the Mandalorian works, and this is why it's so strong. Is for an episode like this where Rick Famuyiwa, who to some people, including myself, was relatively unknown coming into it, to now be for me so respected and so. For me, I've thought so highly of what he has done, and to be so anticipatory of the next episode, I say bring it on. And whether the next episode pays off even better, I don't know if they can match this, but if you can, great. If you can exceed it, oh my god, I can't wait to see how the hell they do this. But considering this is what's leading up to the Mandoverse film, oh, we are in for a treat, and I can't wait. And yeah, this episode on the whole, loved it.
The timing of the announcements they made and this episode today, I think, speaks volumes about what they're planning and strategically where it's going to. So, full hats off to them. And I guess we've been going on an hour and a half. That is going to round out. I was going to do predictions next week, but let's keep them in our minds, and we'll talk about it all next week because it is the finale. It is a two-parter. We might have an idea where things are going to go. We might have the faintest idea where things are going to go, and it's going to be nonetheless so exciting to cover that and get everybody back on for that as well. So please do comment below with your thoughts on The Mandalorian. Get involved. You'd like, comment, share, and subscribe. We've got a lot more Star Wars stuff on the way. And there's a whole load of Star Wars stuff. There's Ahsoka in the summer. There's Mandalorian next week, and there's going to be things in between now and then which I'll be announcing as and when. I could probably do it at the finale, actually. It's not hard to guess what that's going to probably be. But when you want to hear about announcements, let us know on social medias. Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy. Facebook and networks.com/cinemasavvy. With a link to Redbubble in the description below. But listen, both of you, thank you both for coming on. It's been great seeing you at the event. It's been a long event. It's been a very long few days. We're all tired, but we've seen this episode. We've had a blast doing it. And yeah, thank you all for coming on. Thank you all for watching at home. As I said, apologies, not live for this. But as I said, drop a comment. We will reply to them. We will reply to any comments left on this video. And it is a spoiler discussion. So yes, that's why we've dropped it early. But aside from that, take care. And we'll see you on the next one.
So yeah.